bro. BUSA, bro. BUSA, bro. BUSA, bro. BUSA, BUSA, BUSA. All right, you want to tell anything about it before I get on it?
08 Hayabusa, 9,400 miles. We're at 8960.
All right, I'll try not to die. This is weird. So this is my first time, like, realistically on a Hayabusa. You really sit in this thing, don't you? Go ahead and move these mirrors, even though it won't matter when you're in 6th gear doing 200 miles an hour. Oh, am I really already doing 90? Holy, all right. Wow. Stop it. They tell me to keep it kind of legal on these things when I do these reviews, but sometimes it's hard with the bikes they give me. That's a good backfire. So basically, I've done nothing but talk crap about Hayabusas since day one of my YouTube career. So this is, hold on, wait for it. Ooh, it's got a good little sound to it, man. I say good little sound. I mean, this thing's actually pretty loud, but since the pipes are so low and behind the rider, that it doesn't seem to be affecting me too much. More than likely a straight pipe. And I can almost flat foot it, which is nice. Before we start getting into the review of this mofo, here's what I know. It's got 9,400 miles on it. They want this much for it. It's got a TRE, or timing retardation eliminator. Did I say that right? I probably didn't. But basically it gives it the full horsepower. There's no top speed elimination on this bike, so this thing will do a full 204 miles an hour, estimated somewhere around there. But it says you're in 5th gear all the time because of the eliminator, and it definitely has some sort of like shorty pipes on it, and they sound really good. Oh, it's got a fuel gauge. I always think bikes with fuel gauges are cool as shit. Whew. This is actually one of the bikes that I never thought I'd find myself on, even doing a review. I kind of always figured if I was gonna get one of these big freaking like super leader bikes, is gonna be like a ZX14 or something and have it Street Fighter. I was gonna talk about the backstory behind this bike a little bit, but there is a supposed email that went back and forth between a lot of these Japanese governments. But everyone's heard about the theory of how Hayabusas and ZX14s came to fruition, is that basically there was the speed wars between all these leader bikes and motorcycle classes, where it was like all these 1,000 bikes were competing against each other. Then, you know, Suzuki was like, oh yeah, Hayabusa, and then all the Kawasaki was like ZX14, and then the Japanese government was like, stop it, get some help. I don't think there's any proof to back up that whole theory, but from what I understand, it's basically how it went. It's basically how it went down. BUSA, bro. I wonder if Kennesaw Mountain is open. Oh, it's finally open. This is nice. Of course, it's not going to be a road that I'm going to take hardcore. And there's tons of people up here too. Hey, girl, you guys into fitness? Hey, you into fitness? Hey, you into fitness? Hey, you into fitness? Hey, girl, you into fitness? I'll be his daddy. I know you got a kid, but I'll be his daddy. There's room for a car seat on the back. It's a BUSA, bro. Dog. Zoomies. That's where I ordered all my jeans from, dog. Yo. Hey, girl, let's be best friends. And have sex. It has like an awesome backfire. Every single every single shift that has a backfire. Yeah, this bike's way too fast for this road. I kind of understand when people talk about the seating position on this thing now. The wheelbase feels significantly longer on this bike than average motorcycles, and maybe that's just because it's so close to the ground. But it makes me nervous being on this bike versus, like, let's say a ZX10 or a ZX6, because it feels like it's such a bigger bike. You know, there's so much more in front of you than there is on a leader bike or a 600. But the brakes are really good. And you know, you kind of go into a turn worrying, you're like, oh, can this thing go? And it just kind of, it surprises you every time. This definitely isn't a bike made for leaning. I've seen people take Hayabusas up and down mountains and absolutely kill it, but this bike doesn't like it. At least not with me on it. I'm no MotoGP expert or nothing. All right, we'll do one little spirited run. up. I wasn't expecting it to come up. I figured since it was so low to the ground, it wouldn't do that, but it did. Wow, I wasn't ready for that. I've just never seen a Hayabusa like come up, and that was not what I expected. When you look at Hayabusas, you don't think, oh, that thing is gonna wheelie the shit out of itself, you know? But I definitely understand the seating position. It does feel pretty comfortable. I mean, I'd say it's a little bit more stretched out than like for instance, I'll compare it to my ZX-10. They're about the same. They're close in years, and they're two completely different bikes, but they still have dickloads of power. I will use my ZX-10 as reference because it is currently the fastest bike that I have. The ZX-10 is definitely more of a sharper downward angle, where this is you're kind of more stretched out. Like, obviously, bro, it's a BUSA. A little bit more comfortable than I thought it would be. The only time I've ever really ridden a BUSA was in Daytona during Biketoberfest, and it was my buddy's first gen BUSA, the one that I raced on the CBR 1000 back in the day. It's fast. It's pretty fast. 0 to 100 is not where the Hayabusa really gets its kicks, right? I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's very quick down low, but the Hayabusa really sings past like 120. That's where all that displacement kicks in, and the top end just pulls. Don't you hear all those Chevy guys, myself, saying that there's no replacement for displacement? Well, that's 100% true, even on, you know, motorcycles. You want torque? Get a bigger bike. The bike definitely tricks you. It's big and it's bad and all that, but it can actually lean a little bit. You know, I'm not hitting up some crazy twisties right now, but this is comparatively pretty twisty to the roads around here. And it seems to sing. I've done nothing but talk crap about Hayabusas, and it's because it's one of those bikes where it's like you feel like you know exactly what it's about before you even get on it, right? Like, it's a bro, it's a Hayabusa, bro. Dude, it's a BUSA, dude. Now back to like the main event on this thing. It's this is that WOW. Obviously, that's why I do it. It is like because it's this bike is that WOW right now, you know, for sale and whatnot if you want it. And it just very much just wants to go. The only thing this thing is missing is a freaking turbo, right? And a 300 kit in the rear, and a 7-foot stretch, and a big fat guy riding it. You know, it's one of those bikes that it kind of gets a name for itself, right? Like, you don't have to ride a BUSA to know what it's about. This BUSA is exactly what I thought it was going to be before I even got on the thing. It is incredibly smooth, though. Alright, I won't lie, I'm lost now. So this is definitely one of the faster and naturally aspirated BUSAs you can get, just because of the mods that are done to it, right? Like, it's pretty, there's not much you can do to a bike to make it super fast without getting into like nitrous and you know, a turbo or something ridiculous. And I say screw it, dude. Do whatever you want. Put a turbo on a BUSA. I certainly have respect a little bit more for most riders who ride them, because I couldn't ride this bike normally. I already struggle enough as it is riding a ZX-10 without wheeling it every 8 seconds, but this thing, it's just so disgustingly smooth, and the power comes on so gradual. You know, you're like, oh, I'm not going that fast. You look down 120, no big deal. See, now that I've talked about all the good things, I have to talk about some bad things, some things I don't like. People got all upset at my last review because all I did was talk about how much I like the bike, that they sort of think that my reviews are, you know, or like my videos are kind of biased, and of course they kind of are biased, right? Like, I can't help the fact that I like having fun on every motorcycle that I ride. That's just one of the perks of being me, I guess. I don't know. I enjoy things on two wheels. I enjoy things that go fast. I like bikes. I like wheels. I dig anything with a tire, basically. So the negative. For me, the biggest negative about the bike is that it is a god dang boat. It is huge. Massive. There's no getting around it. The blueprint of this bike is big. It doesn't mean it weighs a whole lot more. I think BUSAs only weigh like, I think the newer ones are in the like 70-pound range or something like that. Here's all the information showing me how right or wrong I am. That being said, it's not the weight thing. It's definitely how big the bike is. That's the big kicker for me. I mean, look at it. Noticeably wider in just about every aspect. My legs don't stick out as far as the bike is wide. There's just so much to it. And for me, that's a big problem because I'm a small guy. Obviously, I'm not a fan of having just one motorcycle, so if I had a motorcycle, it wouldn't be a Hayabusa because I wouldn't feel comfortable loading it up by myself. I wouldn't feel comfortable trying to back it up every day around parking lots. I wouldn't feel comfortable. And, you know, those are things you usually have to ease into, but for me personally, it wouldn't be as easy for me because it's a big damn bike. Now, there's a lot of bigger people who are taller than 5'8" and weigh more than 190 pounds and totally can flick this thing around like it's nothing. And for a bigger guy, like, if I was 6 foot, I would be completely happy on this thing. I feel like it'd just be like, yeah, you know, I'm comfortable on it. And another thing that I don't like about it is the handling. It's got a heavy steering to it, and that comes with the weight, so I guess you could kind of couple those two together. The steering definitely shows how heavy the bike is when you go to turn it. It just doesn't flick. It feels closer to my CBR 1000 did than my ZX10, but it's noticeably heavier when you go to lean into turns. You can feel that weight kind of sink you in. There's going to be a lot of people who pause the video right there and go, no shit, you know? They're gonna be like, dude, it's a BUSA. And you're like, well, obviously, that's kind of what I mean by when I say, you know what this bike is before you get on it. You know what a Hayabusa is all about before you ever touch one. But it feels like it'd be a little bit harder to hoon around on this bike so much as it would be a leader bike or a 600 even. And when I say hoon around, I don't mean just go fast. Like on my ZX10, I'll jump a curb, or I'll wheelie it a lot. I go faster into turns than I like to go, you know? I mean, it's a little bit easier to, I'll take the bike off-road. I would never take this thing off-road at all, and I think this thing is lowered a little bit, not by much though. If you look at the rear on this thing, it's definitely got some height to it. But before you get on a BUSA, you know what it's about. It's, hey, my bike's bigger than yours. I guess people can say the same thing about the Corvette, you know? Like, I have a Corvette, right? So you could say, like, when you buy a Corvette, you know what it's all about. My dick's smaller than yours. I don't know, probably true. Who knows? And if it's what you like, dude, get it. Would I get a Hayabusa? Yeah, I'd get a Hayabusa. It wouldn't be my only bike, though. But if I wanted to get a sport bike and have a commuter bike, I'd probably get a Hayabusa. Because it's comfortable to ride on. Dude, it's relaxing. Like, the seating position's great. The clutch is buttery smooth. It's not hard to go from point A to point B. I mean, this has actually got one of the smoothest clutches I've ever used. And it's stock. It's a factory clutch. So my opinions on Hayabusas haven't really changed since I've ridden one, because I knew what it was all about before I got on it. It kind of proved me right. But this one does sound really nice. With whatever exhaust it's got on there, man, it's loud, but not obnoxiously loud. Like, I can ride it around comfortably. My ears don't hurt or anything like that. But maybe it's because I'm deaf from the Magna and shooting guns in buildings. I don't know. Time to put her up, boys, because I got another bike I'm reviewing for you today. And it's gonna be a doozy. Hey, whose ZX10 is that?